Okay, well, thank you for having me. As we all know, DPW is a very long, cumbersome, hourly moving target run up to get to the capital end to present every year. Constant EPA, DEP, regulatory changes, so on and so forth. Things happen with infrastructure throughout the year. You didn't see them in the capital plan coming up, but if it's the committee's choice, I generally start with my 5-year general, well, I shouldn't say my 5-year, but the FY26 general budget. I put it in order of what my 5-year capital spreadsheet looks like. The first one at the top of the list is the chapter 90 grant. You won't see a form on that. We represent that in the capital because it breaks capital threshold. It's a grant from the state or the year for our roads. But it's stuck at 622, 758 for what seems like forever. In fact, it went down a little bit a few years ago. The next one on the first one on the list you have a form for is the highway funding, which kind of goes hand in hand with the chapter 90. Blacktop has increased like 40% in 8 years alone, let alone the labor and so on and so forth. The mill pave, raise structures, everything that goes along with paving. I started this about 5 years ago at $200,000 request to offset those costs. Because generally what 40% increase in the blacktop means is 40% less mileage we're doing every year. And we have a comprehensive paving program. We're running about 73% out of 100% on our roads, which isn't bad. It isn't great. We haven't improved, but we haven't gotten any worse from year to year when we plug the numbers in and the mileage in the roadways. We bring them up to 100%. So again, that's a request for 200,000 just so that we can keep up with the amount of paving we've been doing for quite some time now, 10 to 15 years. So do we want to take questions on each one as we go, or? Be pretty good on it.
If there are.
Yeah, I mean, if there's
If
any
there are.
questions, by all means. So the next one is, well, first let me state that there's a pretty big emphasis on vehicles this year. The smaller trucks, the 1 tons, we call them the dual wheel pickups you see out there, they're very high use. They're work horses and everything we do. Most of them have gone beyond their useful life. As you're no longer reliable, we have a lot of breakdowns. We're spending a lot of money to keep them going. Municipal vehicles are out there year round. They take the abuse of the weather, the salt, they plow. They salt the roads. So I do want to say to our vehicle maintenance folks, Paul Moore, the deputy director, and the mechanics are just amazing how they can keep things going at times and get them going during snowstorms. So I think we all should be thankful for their skill set and how good they are. But anyways, I want to replace, this was a 1 ton, and we're kind of transitioning to replacing some of our 1 tons with what we call a 1.5 tons. And what that is, it's a larger truck. It's closer to a CDL vehicle, but not a CDL vehicle. And I'll explain that CDLs are becoming a real premium. They're extremely hard to get now. The state of Mass has one of the hardest and most diligent programs through the testing of obtaining it when you're being tested by the state trooper. They're on body cams now and the whole 9 yards. You got to recite verbatim out of the training book from top to bottom. So we trended away a little bit. I can't do away with any of the larger dump trucks at this point because we are a 7-division construction company. We need larger trucks for, water, sewer, highway, so on and so forth for excavation. But these trucks are obviously a little bit more expensive, but it gives us a bigger, more stout plow as a pickup truck out there to maintain our roads at a reasonable pace during a snowstorm. They're interchangeable, being the in-between truck. They're very interchangeable. The truck that this one is replacing, number 47, I wasn't real good with getting pictures for it because we had to deadline it about 10 months ago. To be honest with you, not to date myself, it was a truck that I repaired the frame on for the first time as a mechanic in the shop. And we can no longer repair the frame. So we got a quick $1,000 for it because it was in rough shape. We trade a lot of our vehicles in because you go through the process of the bid and everything. You don't get a whole lot for them, or we go through what they call municipal bid, and we do get more money for them. But sometimes, as we sit here tonight and we go through the process, a large vehicle may increase $20,000 by the time the council votes in May or June. Standard dump truck, 6-wheel dump truck's gone up $48,000 in like 2 years. Price of metal, emission standards, so on and so forth in the diesel trucks. So I didn't have very good pictures because we actually grabbed a quick $1,000. That's all it was worth, and we needed it towards another truck that had come in that we ordered from the year before. The next one is a 99 Chevrolet 3/4 ton. I'm not sure if you got to see any of the pictures, but this truck, it's funny, I have a history here. This was my first truck as a supervisor, many months ago. It's very high use. You see it in highway traffic. You see it out there painting crosswalks. It's got a rack body on it. For painting crosswalks, stop bars, and many other things with the rack body when it comes to highway and traffic. As you can see, it's got, I think, 198,000 miles on it, and it's going to come across like it's, 189,190, close enough. 1,000 miles on it. This has seen a bunch of body work. It's seen the transmission, it's seen the top end motor rebuild, the expensive repairs. Vehicle like this is usually a 10 to 13-year vehicle, and this is a 99. So it's getting harder to put, frames going. Pictures. If anybody wants to see the pictures, I did.
Just out of curiosity, is there like certain upgrades to this? Why the 3/4 would be a $90,000 truck? We can get 3/4 for much less than 90 grand still. Is there a certain?
That was the actual
need.
Well, the quote, everything we need outfitted to be DPW, you get into all the LEDs, you get into the plows have gone way up.
Right.
Systems. I put the exact quote in there at 88,433, and that's a couple of months old. And I gave the whole quote of everything it comes with.
Right.
A lot of the stuff is,
Like, we don't have anything.
it was in my.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have actually no backup.
We have.
We just have a sheet.
I'm sorry, I almost printed my book for everybody. I just said, no, it's on computer, but.
And we have a computer.
I'm just shocked that it's 90. I mean, like, I'm just curious as to,
In that, in that state bid list.
right, wow. I'm just curious as to what. Like, obviously, you see. Like, police vehicles need to be outfitted in certain ways, so that, you get a base, whatever, like, what we say, like 60 grand or whatever. And then, obviously, they have to get, the lights and the cages and the, all that, computers and all that stuff, so I'm just curious as to what. As opposed to like, going across the street off the lot. Getting
So,
order time
If
versus.
you, I apologize.
No, it's okay.
Base price is 49,727. The options that we need, this particular truck is gonna be outfitted with a lift gate on the back, and 5-gallon pails. Another example is we help out with voting. The lift gate is worth so many uses, or we use it for so many things.
Yeah. That's great.
There's nothing worse than wearing a 5-gallon bucket of paint and trying to pull it off the back of the truck.
Yeah.
But an example is that platform body, with the lift gate, you're looking at like $13,000 right there.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. I'm just, and the other reason, the second reason for me asking that is there, if there's already a 3/4, is there any reason to not replace it with one ton? Would be more utilitarian for you.
Right, so for what this does, it's a lot lighter duty work. It plows small dead ends, not driveways here, we don't do driveways. Smaller parking lots, so it's clean
Right.
intersections. But one of the biggest reasons is, I could made it a 1 ton, but with the lift gate and the rack body and everything, it's gonna sit a lot higher.
Okay.
And you look at the cost of a 1 ton now, the 88,000 or the 90,000 is a big savings. It's like $30,000.
Is it that different? Wow.
Yeah, by the time you outfit it with the rack body and the lift gate,
Right.
because there's fabrication has to happen. So I didn't need a bigger vehicle for what this functions for, which is many functions, so. That's what we want to do. Plenty of savings.
I have a question on that one. I know there's one vehicle that you're looking at that's electric, but does this, it's probably a stupid question. But, okay. Do 3/4 tons ever come in electric? That would-
No,
I'm just gonna ask you. anyway.
No, and Paul Newell and I both work with Carol Collins from year to year. There's a vehicle coming up that I'm gonna explain that Carol's gonna help us with. But basically anything under 7,500 GVW right now does not come electric.
Okay,
You have like the Ford Lightning, a 1/2 ton. But honestly, for what we do, plowing roads and everything, we destroy that thing in the winter.
better to ask it here.
No, and I was gonna throw that out. I mean, we are looking to the electric world. They do make an electric rubbish truck, which I'm gonna present a little later. But they're certainly not proven in the United States in the hilly areas. They got fleets of them in like flatlands of California right now, and so on and so forth. I've done a lot of reading on it, and Carol could actually give you a lot more information than me, but our trend is wherever we can go electric, we will. It's a matter of these larger dump trucks that we need for construction and like the 10-wheeler, the bigger dump trucks for plowing the country roads. There's not enough for any electric yet. As a matter of fact, the new law coming into effect in the state has sent all the manufacturers scrambling on how they're gonna meet the new laws for electric larger trucks. Paul has heard from just about all our manufacturers in the state with us, and they're like, we don't. See how it happens.
And how long does the truck last?
So you got different size trucks. This truck here, really, you should, depending on, the issues it has, it really should be swapped out 12 to 15 years. We're way behind on swap out and reliability. The larger dump trucks, the bigger ones, the six wheel axle, we call it. Those are 20 to 25 years, and we got a few that are 27, 28, and frame off restorations on them. So each vehicle, the 1 tons, you should be getting 15 to 17 years, 18 years out of them. As you can see, 99. This one here, we're well beyond the reliability. You'll see my parts, my operating budget parts and supplies go up every year, and we're always over. We always spend on that to keep everything going. So.
Right, not that I mean, I appreciate your frugality on this choice and realism on what you need it for. The reason I asked why in that line of work, almost why anything would be less than a 1 ton, was for, even though I know you're saying like for like the snow removal and things like that, among other uses of it is, one of the penny full pound foolish, whatever it is, penny tin pound foolish, like, is running something like a truck, like a 3/4 ton, to do the same job 1 ton could do. You're now running something that's closer to like 100% of what its capability is versus a 1 ton, you might be doing it at like 75%. What kind of long-term, if we're going to invest in something that, as Gene pointed out, these do have a little bit longer life than some other vehicles in different departments here. how much would we be taxing something, if it is, I mean, it's 30 grand, okay, maybe that's why we stay with this one, but, just for that kind of comparison as to, getting something that's, if they find something a little bit more reliable that will last you longer for your use, then needing to come back sooner, because the wear and tear on a lighter duty vehicle, like crippling that one quicker. So that's all, that's why I was asking.
Yeah, I know, it's a great question. I thought that through, and again, what this truck is tasked with, most of its work is in the summertime dealing with traffic functions.
Okay.
And like I said, it's not tasked with, plowing country roads or big Main Street or,
Right.
any big road, if anything, clean up in intersections and what we call dead ends. So that kind of factored into my thinking too. The fuel, I try to factor everything, fuel use. And again, are we gonna destroy this thing in 10 years? This one here has been plowing for almost day long. So, but it's what it's tasked to do year in and year out that kind of made me think we can get away. We should be getting an opportunity to get it done.
Cool. Sweet.
Okay, forestry bucket truck. So, forestry bucket truck doesn't do just trees and emergencies and trim trees and take trees down. It serves as so many functions along with our log truck in the city. Hanging the Christmas tree, hanging all the Christmas lights. There's always something, replacing tethers for flags and all the city buildings. Getting up on roofs, so on and so forth, so. But this truck is a 1997, it's a standard shift. We just now, in the last 4 months, realized that the only company that was still selling replacement parts for the actual boom, boom parts and everything along with it is out of business now, going out of business, so. Paul Newell hunted around, we can't find another company that can supply a lot of these parts, so if it breaks, we're down. And we're in a contract until we either get a replacement truck or under contract. It's been a very good truck, but it's seen a lot of repairs. The other piece of it is, when it comes to CDLs, they now you have to have a standard shift endorsement on top of everything else. So if you take a road test in an automatic, you can't drive this bucket truck. Or a new bucket truck, if it's over the GVW for CDL. So the new one that I put the cost in here for would be an automatic transmission. It's a state of the art. The equipment, the boom itself and the bucket, it's not going to go outdated. This one did for a long time. It's really been desperately needed to be replaced for all those reasons. So again, it's a 20 to 25-year-old truck. It's 27. Just one of those vehicles that when you get an ice storm, you got 35 trees down, you gotta turn the key and go. It's getting a little more difficult with that one. And I'm limited to who I call in to drive that truck and run it, not to be because of the standard transmission, so. That's not the big reason. The big reason is it's outdated and we can't get repair parts for it. It's becoming real fun. We haven't checked in.
Check eBay.
Well, there's been, no joking, there's been some parts we found for our water facilities over the years for certain switches and stuff used on eBay. So
This is large enough for a CDL,
the new one will be,
the new one, but
Yes.
the old one isn't.
it's just under.
And they have an endorsement change.
No, I didn't want to misspeak.
You're saying new, so CDL and endorsement.
The other part of it, when the chipper's hooked to it, I've got a pretty good sized chipper that can force it over the GVW pretty quick, loaded with chips.
Right.
So it's right on that cusp. It's hydraulic brakes on a truck this old, heavy duty truck. Not unreliable, not unsafe, but plenty of repairs need to be done.
I didn't realize they had that. How long was that change for CDL for standard transmission?
When they changed that, that's been about a year.
Oh,
Year and a
this,
Yeah. So when I send the staff off to CDL school, I say, whatever you do, try and take the test through school. We had one that chose to come back to use the automatic, but he's got the automatic restriction on the CDL. So, but the other set of staff members that's passing has been taking it with the standard. So they don't have that restriction. Oh, next up, rubbish truck. In years past, I had the rubbish trucks in my capital. It didn't make it, from previous administrations. But we're at the point now where our trash trucks we are like literally limping down the line. We have one that's in constant repair. These things are well beyond 20,000 hours on the diesel engine, and they got small cat engines in them. They're beyond their serviceable life. And of course, everything that gets loaded in a trash truck, the rust is hard to keep up with too. The mixture in there, if you will, when everything's packed. So we have one that's fairly, well, I call fairly new. It's 8-9 years old now. We have another one that's, I think, 12 years old. But this is one of the original Condors made by Ford. That again, parts are almost impossible to come by. Last time we did the steering shaft for it, I think we had an order from Europe or something. Again, it's a cab over. They're not made anymore. They haven't been made in years. And to go along with one of the newer trucks I have, and the other one that's in fairly decent shape, this replacement would go a long ways in getting our solid waste department coupled with the Swiffer grant, with the 3 brand new recycled trucks coming, kind of bring us up to speed a little bit on equipment, go a long ways towards replacing our equipment. We have recycled trucks that are breaking down almost daily right now. The city councilors, mayor's office may be hearing, hey, how come they send 2 trucks out? Well, one's got to pick cardboard, one's got to pick plastic, and plastic is with the truck's done. And it's got a divider in it, but it's broke down.
I saw those the one time today.
Yeah.
That picking up recycling.
Yeah. So yeah, truck one, that's 197 recycled truck. It's almost a weekly thing, working on it. So anyways, replacing this trash truck is very important going forward with our solid waste department. We actually down the road, we got to replace the loader at the landfill and a few other big pieces of equipment. So I don't want everything to keep coming together like this on my 5-year capital. We kick it down the road, and the other ones catch up, and now we have 4 or 5 million in equipment I'm looking for rather than it spread out. And that's kind of what's been going on with the vehicles. So.
You were talking about the like Swiffer grant for those are for obviously the recycling trucks. Have there been any opportunities that you've noticed out there for solid waste trucks as well, or are they just not offering grants for that?
There's nothing out there for trash. That's the thing. And eventually I'd like to automate the trash, like we are with the recycling, but that comes in 3s. We'd have to purchase 3 trucks. Like if I wanted to automate trash right now, I'd be looking for 3 times that amount.
Right.
So it's something that probably in my head, in my plan is we're going to be 5 or 6 years down the road before we can talk about automating the trash once we get the recycling implemented. By the way, working on the ordinance now, hopefully get a draft to the council in February. Trucks are due in pretty soon, so
Yes.
late spring.
So, in the end, I put all the people's requests forward.
Mm-hmm.
Because I just thought that was a good idea for everybody to see, and then when we get to the end, I thought, we're gonna have to, we'll have to choose, because we. Do you mind if I interrupt you for a
No,
moment?
no.
Because we had a bond meeting today, and they didn't think that more borrowing was a good idea. Isn't something that's what we've been doing every year, is borrowing about 4 million to get things done. And that's not the plan that is or should be going forward. So it's what you can afford. So as he's going through, because I'm going through my mind thinking, they're looking at us for what you have in reserves as well. So there'll be choices that have to be made. And, you know, I'd appreciate everybody's help with that, because I don't know anything about trucks for one thing, but you should know what the dollar figure is. And we just have an order in front of council for 1.6 million. And some of them also, I just want to say this, as you're going, I had tried to move capital to after, that we were voting on capital plans till after the operating budget. So if, but Marlowe's things I put up first last year, they actually all got voted on early, which wasn't quite my plan, but his paving things need to be done in the spring. So we would vote on those early. And then if there's something that we just know that it's gonna take so long to order, that we need to put it in, but in general, just keep that in mind. That's the plan.
No, and I appreciate that. I've been around long enough. I pay attention to the whole, you know, the whole as a whole every year, so I understand. And I met no will towards getting trucks cut and passed towards anybody.
Yeah, no,
There's always hard decisions to make.
right.
And I understand that. Coleraine Street Bridge Engineering and Design. For the repairs down the road, 35,000. We received,
Are you skipping the other one?
The reader,
The meter reader supervised vehicle?
oh, I had it after.
Oh, you have that? Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Which we like me to do. Doesn't matter. So we get 3 bridge inspections from Mass DOT and we get the results of them. Coleraine Street Bridge, I was kind of expecting you had to do some pretty good repairs on it. I don't think you got all the pictures, but in that report, I actually have the report from Mass DOT, signed report. And there's pictures in there, you know, like the walls next to the sidewalk up on the deck. Broken and offset 5 inches. I mean, this bridge has taken some serious heat from flooding rains up and over it. In case you didn't, it's down, we're down Port Trucking isn't Coleraine Street. So at the end of the day, I kind of expected a lot worse report on it. There's scouring, there's different things going on with it, but it certainly isn't up for a bridge replacement, which is good news. So this is the engineering and design. We'll hire a firm to go through the report, give us a cost analysis and a plan to bid out for repairs next year. Capital for repairs for next year, if this is approved. Bridges, like anything else, once you're kind of put on notice for them, like any other infrastructure, kind of want to give them when they're cheaper to repair than down the line, you gotta do a bridge replacement. If we're not lucky to get a grant. Bridge grants are funny, they're limited to the span and all that, and Greenfield doesn't have many that fit the small bridge grant funding. In fact, we don't have any. It's a 20-foot, smaller than 20-foot width, so you think about more across our bridges, they're all 120 feet, so it's just one of those deals. We should get on these repairs, you know, as we follow our process. So it doesn't triple quickly in the road or whatever it may be. And again, if I can send Aaron, they didn't receive
No,
this.
no, I know, it's, I hit notify Aaron, it's not, we don't have to send it again. they need to get it, and it will also need to go to council. If you, yeah, if there's anything that anybody has a question about when he's here, because he's sitting here with the information, you can hold it up the old fashioned way. Which would be better if you had it in front of you, but I'm looking and I think Marlo has it, but he already knows it, and I apologize on behalf of the mayor's office.
Like I said, I was gonna go old school and make my bill for everyone, but, because we're always in a different order when we meet from year to year, it seems, so. So smaller vehicle, as a matter of fact, I was in communication with Carol today. This is, our meter as we're trying to finish up our meter program that got really held up by COVID for like 5 years now on that project. We got approximately 1,400 more meters to go in. I don't have the exact count to today. But once the meters go in, this is gonna be literally, we can go to quarterly billing and it's a drive-by. We can read the whole city in like a day with these new meters. Whereas now we're reading, every month we're reading 20 days. And then developing the billing and everything because there's a lot of manual reading on the older meters. So in quarterly billing will be a great thing. It's a much better revenue stream quarterly rather than biannually. So on and so forth, but we have a very big shortage of vehicles and we have a lot of trainings also. The deputy director doesn't have a vehicle. He just kind of grabs what's available. So this is going to be our deputy director vehicle. And it's also gonna fill in for, I have a small car also, rather than taking 3/4 tons, 1 tons to trainings out in Worcester or something. A lot of them we can get online now, but there's still so much under OSHA, they're in person. I did talk to Carol today. She sent me an email back and said, I'm probably right on the money for the 25,000. And I have 3 options to get back to her. I'm trying to remember the 3 this afternoon. One was we can get a brand new vehicle. She can get a grant for a charger for it. But we need the 25 grand coupled with what she can get in grant money for that. Or there's a lot of used ones out there without a lot of mileage on them. So we have 2 or 3 options, but her email, the way I summarize it is, this is good, I can help you, I can get money, I can get grant money, but this is what it probably costs us for grant. Her grant money and her charging station. So it'll be our first electric vehicle.
Question, why did you quit doing guardrail replacements?
It kind of, we got kind of caught up on the most severe defective ones. And again, it's boiled down to the last few years where sidewalk money, I guess I'm in that frame of mind, what we need most priority wise. I have to have the supervisors or the highway supervisor do an evaluation of all their areas and see where we're at and what we need.
Because at one time it was the absolute necessity to spend, I don't remember how much every year.
Yeah, it was 30,000 every year. So I just did not couple that in there this year because I like to provide the information to, you know, where we putting these things. Generally with pictures and so on and so forth. A lot of our guardrails, it's different today, get repaired by a company through insurance, whoever hits them. So they actually stay in pretty good shape. So and we actually do some repairs with our highway. So
Again, is that also why this is a skip year for sidewalks as well?
So the other part of all the projects, we've had a turnover. Bless his heart, Alan Torok retired in December, 25 years as an engineering employee, worked his way up to the engineering superintendent. And I've been together since day one. So we're transitioning, we promoted within from the assistant engineer. We got all these projects that got slowed down in the middle of the summer, late summer, for parts and pieces on hold, for different reasons. Companies are like stretched so thin, they couldn't get to finishing our project. So we kind of got a little bit of a backlog of projects, and I'll talk about that when we get to sewer too, where we got a little backlog. And we also have sidewalk money for a fairly large sidewalk project already. I have some sidewalk money left on the previous 200,000. We weren't able to get into a single sidewalk repair except the emergency triple repair in our highway department this year because of staffing. But things are starting to turn around. I'm hoping we can go back and use that money and do some sidewalk repairs with the in-house staff on the highway. So that was another thing. I didn't want to borrow 200 or have 200,000 borrowed or have it come from somewhere else. And 2 years from now isn't spent. I try and be mindful of that, of what I have left and what the upcoming season is like. Sure. And projects are half done, a quarter done, 3/4 done for all the various reasons I mentioned, so. um, Let's see. Design and engineering design, Maplebrook Culvert. I think most people in here probably know all about the Maplebrook Culvert. This repairs on Riddell Street. I did send some pictures. At 34 Riddell Street, it runs diagonal right across the lot. And it looks like a sidewalk, but the slabs are broken and they're caving in on the Maplebrook Culvert there. It has to be repaired.
This is where, well, we're sitting in the building that was at one time proposed to go in that exact location, correct?
Yes, yes. And it was gonna have to be moved. And there's an 18-inch sewer right next to it. So that was all gonna be moved to the west at one point, but that was $600,000 in-house. So the other piece of this project is the lot next door on the Beacon Street side. We own that lot. There's a detention basin there that got put in years ago. It's not working right. So we did some evaluations and repairs on that detention basin to make that work better is also part of this project. This is the engineering and design for the project. I know the mayor is well aware of, it's a low point in the city right there. That area is pretty flood prone, especially with the heavy rains we've been seeing with the storms. We expect that the detention basin, if it works right, will take on a lot more water and detain it and allow the culvert to continue to run. We think that it's going to help our flooding situation. There's really not drainage made in the city. If you get 3 inches in the bow, it's gonna take that kind of water. And not only that's a little bit of a safety hazard at the top of that culvert, caving in right now, so.
And that's still fenced off, is that correct?
Yes, yeah, but it's generally unlocked. The gate in the front is generally unlocked. So, and as of now, I mean, 34 Riddell is one of the bigger storage areas we have for departments. So, last thing I want is a plow truck to go for this clearing it, one, you know, a van or a 1 ton or anything. So we did have a bunch of cones there, and I think they made it go nice. I don't know. I just noticed by the pictures it reminded me. So, well, there's a barrel there. What's left of one. So we go through the engineering and design, we'll have a pretty good idea. It's just a repair at this point. It's not for the other piece that I talked about and moving the whole thing to the west, and because that was the plan if we were gonna demo that building. And then you remember it was gonna be like a public safety complex at one point, probably 6 years ago now, when we first came back, 7.
Yeah.
So. But this is just to do the repairs and see if we can get some better water or drainage flowing over there too.
Is that in here? I can't find it.
It is,
Sure.
on his first page,
The last one, 26.
it's right here. It's 34 Dell Engineering and Design.
It's the, oh, that's that.
Yes. I'm sorry, I didn't say it wrong.
You think that doing that will help with the flooding? Right in that particular area?
If we can get that detention pond to take on more water, that's what they do. When the culvert becomes full, it discharges and the detention pond has somewhere else to go and it fills up like a pond or a pool.
Right.
I think on some of your heavier rains, the answer is yes, Mayor. I think things will drain quicker. Potentially not flood as bad. But to be completely honest, some of these 3-inch rains, none of our drains can take it in the city. Just
And both of those projects, there's the possibility, not for the engineering design, but there's possibility of grant money to get them done, the climate resiliency, that the possibility that the actual doing of that project.
I know, well, there is a possibility. I know the couple of grants we looked into, I'm trying to remember the name of it that Eric and Athena worked on. It didn't go through, or not rejected, but we didn't get the grant. As you know, we've been in contact and working with our stakeholders. Haven't heard much, but I certainly have supplied a lot of documentation to our delegates. And give some money towards our total flooding issues. So, our INI issues also.
Okay.
I will say a theme's gonna leave an eye on this, looking for something that will work,
Right,
so.
yeah. Okay.
So that completes my general. Also, Toronto, I made a promise I wouldn't do it this year, and kept it.
Yeah.
There's nothing 1/3
You did.
split.
You did.
Democracy. And reading the order 3 times on the council floor.
No, by the time I'm all done, it's like 9 times. The first reading,
Yes,
second
yeah,
reading.
yeah.
And the actual
I was
vote.
trying to be.
I appreciate that.
By the time you get to the 8th or 9th, everybody's laughing at the
Yep.
table, you know,
Yep.
I think they're maybe laughing who's reading it, they're losing their voice. But nothing fell into play this year with, you know, where our status is on other projects. All the 1/3 projects, by the way, are completed, from last year.
Roadside mower, right?
Yeah, that's all set.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry, the paving of the yard
Yeah.
was the motor one, so. I have to admit, I wasn't planning that. So. So if nobody has questions on any of the general, feel free, otherwise we'll move on to, sewer. We'll move on. I only have one request in sewer this year. Most of the snow we have an ongoing inflow and infiltration problem with our groundwater and stormwater getting into our sewer system. So this is one of the projects I had mentioned a few minutes ago that, the request is for 500,000. So the last couple of days, I found a few minutes to go through every previous INI account, what's encumbered in them, where the projects are at. One of the projects had 285,000 and one of the accounts had 285,000 still encumbered in it. The company didn't finish up the work in the fall. So really, at the end of the day, I went through the math and see what I had left, and we fell a little behind on the projects. But we're gonna be okay with the report to DEP and EPA of what we've accomplished this year. That's the the main goal is run a consent order. So right now I have a remaining balance unencumbered, meaning I have a lot more money showing, but I have $431,820.01 right now available to me that's not encumbered. So when I look at the 500,000, I said, you know what? If we have to borrow this money and we're talking sewer rates, I'm not gonna request for that to happen and have it sit there and not be able to spend any of it this coming year. So with that being said, we did some not backpedaling, we've improved on the INA, inflow infiltration. But it's kind of like our system is so old and we've been dealing with the consent order for 6 years, doing the studies, doing the flow testing, the smoke testing, and coming down to where do we need to make the repairs and everything. When you have 80 to 100-year-old pipes, in that 6 years, we believe and we feel that we've had some other instances where pipes are starting to fail that were okay in the first. So this summer, we had hired Tata and Howard to put flow monitors in all our different sections of our sewer, pinpoint these sewers, the sections. I'm waiting for that report to come back. Wright Pierce did the last SSES, there was 3 phases of it, sanitary sewer evaluation. The evaluation takes all their information and it tells us where to go and what to do, line a pipe, line it in, find an infiltration. We're gonna go through that process again, and I want to use Wright Pierce again because it's going to be a big savings to the city once the flow testing and the results come back from that. So the 431, in a quick estimate, is going to get chewed up pretty quick. So I'm lowering the 500,000 to 200,000, gives me a little bit of wiggle room so that we can put another contract out to finish up the smaller repairs we had on the original evaluation. Worst thing that can happen is if I need, more funding come fall and we're in the middle of bidding or we want to bid something out, we have all these results and everything on the date. Of course, I'll approach the mayor and we can go back to council after certify it next year. So again, I don't want to take 500,000 if we sit here next year and say, well, geez, you didn't use the 431 and you get another 500 sitting there. That makes no sense.
So this is a borrowing request.
This is a borrowing request, it will be borrowed against the enterprise fund, right?
Yes, yeah, but 200 as opposed to 500, I think would be a lot better shape.
And this isn't something, I'm just wondering, this isn't something we would use any of the retained earnings.
So retained earnings, those are a little thin on the return this year. I believe there was some 100,000 retained earnings left. But we've done a lot of good things with the retained earnings. That's the bright side. Like, I mean, look at the trucks we bought a backhoe.
Yeah.
Sewer division, the yard is in pretty good shape with equipment and everything. So it's kind of a rebound year. I suspect that, our retained earnings look a lot better next fall.
So I didn't actually say that came up now, I'm glad. We didn't have a chance to say it because it wasn't on the agenda, but, when the Department of Revenue came out, they were very firm that they were not gonna pass us off next year with the tax rate unless, we'd increased our rates and, it looked that our retained earnings were better. So, we talked a lot about that, Steve and I. He's increased the sewer rates by 10%. Feels as if the usage will go up because it's a drought. Do I have that right? People will be using more water. So he feels like on that, it was gonna be okay. And we've increased the rates every year. I actually looked back. There's history that we've done it every year. We didn't increase it the year before. It was an election year. But it actually, we should be increasing because the cost of it goes up and we're well below where other people are. But that's the one thing that they promised us that they were gonna be looking at was our 3 enterprise funds. So I think that's what we did to have decreased that by 200,000. And yes, it was the sewer that went from 1 million to 100,000 in retained earnings, and I think the water had gone from like 1.2 million in retained earnings to $500,000. So, but you should know that for when it comes to you on all finance, you know that for when it comes through again, that water rates are going up, they were very firm with the enterprise.
So they're wanting us to have more retained earnings. Or, I mean,
No, they wanted you to meet your budget. You have to be.
Yeah, right.
Is that-
Yeah, basically what they're saying is,
Express that correctly?
yeah,
Yeah,
so I think what they were seeing in the current budget and whatnot, if I may, here.
yeah, go ahead, please.
What they were seeing is, the revenues in the current budget were really low and what the voted budget was with all the borrowing and
Yeah.
and so on and so forth. I think there was a nervousness of hitting, I mean, on a retained earning, or I should say, an enterprise fund. Whatever you vote, the council votes for a budget, you have to hit that in revenues by next June 30th. Or trouble with the state, I guess, I put it in layman's terms. So the revenues are a little behind, but there's a couple of reasons for it. The reading's a little behind right now. So if the budget's $3 million, we should be sitting around 1.5 million on January 1st in our revenues.
right,
So we're a little behind on that, for various reasons. We got hit hard with the food log in the water department, for a few weeks. So the biggest billing cycle is going out now, and I believe once those revenues come in and we catch up, I think we're gonna be fine. But what they're saying is, in their estimation, we're gonna be cutting it way too close.
Yeah. And they want to make sure that the rates that we continue to have.
And it's always been a theory, you want to keep $1 million in water and sewer retained earnings from emergency.
Yeah.
But that was all recommended 10, 15 years ago, seeing costs go up. I mean, really, at the end of the day, $1 million in an emergency could go like a drop in a bucket. I hate to say it that way, I apologize. The other thing we got going on is the more meters we change, the more accurate they are. And sewer rates, water and sewer rates obviously are predicated off the meters. So, and it was a drought. Everybody looks at me like I have 10 heads. The weather affects our revenues in water and sewer. It goes hand in hand. You didn't water your garden, you had to water your garden August through November this year because we were in a drought. Other years it rained all July and August, so they're not using the water. So your revenues go down because the usage was way. And of course, the rates are they're all designed for water conservation. That's the other piece of it on the flip side too, so.
So we're watching that very carefully. And you have to notify whoever, 6 months in advance
6 months in advance, so.
of a change, and they actually kind of wanted us to go up twice in a year, but we just will go up next year. I think that's the plan right now, that we would do it annually.
We have to notify the public by June 30th every year, and then the rates won't go up until January 1st.
right.
So you gotta give 6 months notice on a regulation.
It's just curious to me that they would like almost frown upon being able to not, in this case, some of the retained earnings that we use were purchase equipment for the or do, I and things like that for the department to function better, and that they're almost frowning upon us using retained earnings for that versus borrowing. You think they wouldn't want us to be borrowing money overall as a city, right? You wouldn't want to be paying interest. You wouldn't want to be, going through all that process if you've got the capital, so to speak, to cover it. But I mean, I also understand, like anything, like an insurance company wants you to do it, banks want you to do it, they want you to have, a minimum balance to, show that you can't handle an emergency.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Like,
the other
just-
piece of it is last year, we really hit the sewer budget bad. The sludge disposal has just skyrocketed 200,000 in a year. But we also had, Mary, you remember, we had quite a few pretty extensive emergencies in a row that cost us a lot more than the operating budget.
Right.
Big one on Wall Street was an example. So, I mean, I don't want to take your thunder. But at the end of the budget cycle, whatever's left in the operating budget from the previous year, and then the revenues and everything's paid off. Because it's not just operating budget, it's all the borrowing, like I said, you go to total budget, it's not just my operating,
Right.
you gotta cover that number. I think it's 3.2 million this year.
Yeah, you gotta cover it.
You gotta cover it. And I'm like at 1.3 or 1.2 right now, but again, the largest section we read for billing, the revenues have not come in yet. So. It's all, there's so much more to it than what you would think, yeah. But that's it for sewer. That's all I have for sewer, and I hope that's good news that I can drop that.
Yes, that is wonderful. You're like my best friend.
So water, I have a couple of more things. And by the way, when you get sent this information, I have a tally from 2012, what we spent and what we've done on I&I, inflow and infiltration. So. In case you really wanted them. So. Water, so first of all, water and sewer, there was a grant that was awarded. I think Amy can speak better to it, or maybe the mayor, but what was included in that grant was upgrading the sewer from Main Street to Pleasant Street on Chapman Street. And the water main from Main Street to Pleasant Street on Davis Street. They're all very, very old, so on and so forth. So there's actually two projects there we're gonna have to oversee. I don't have a big water main project this year. There's only so many engineering and myself to go around on bigger projects. So I just wanted to put out there, there's a lot of other projects going on, not necessarily. You'll see here that, because I'm not asking for them, but we've already got them in the hopper, so to speak, ready to go. An example, you mentioned sidewalks, Lincoln Street and a couple other streets. We've already done the design that's going out to bid. 2 weeks.
Lincoln Street, just FYI, is gonna be done from ARPA.
Yeah.
I think that's about 300,000, isn't it? I think that's
Yes.
the number I recall.
Yeah.
So that didn't need to come, but that is gonna be accomplished from
Yeah.
sidewalks. So some of that was not, didn't go to Court Square, went for infrastructure needs that didn't actually come before you, but you should know about what they are and what's being done.
And we did, for even numbers, we did $1 million in sidewalk this past summer,
Yeah.
all under grant. So.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good shot in the arm, because there was streets on that list that when I became a highway supervisor, not gonna tell you how many years ago, those sidewalks were bad then. I think we're starting to really make some headway on the sidewalks. That's a good thing. So, the first thing I have, so 2 out of the 3 projects I'm requesting funding for in water are coming out of retained earnings. I think we're between 500,000 and 600,000.
Right, that's right.
The first one's 35,000 water tank inspections. This is an interesting thing, and I sent pictures overhead, drone pictures of our 2 water tanks, Adams Hill and Rocky Mountain. So these tanks, we really can't shut them down. We're not gonna have fire protection, we're not gonna have whatever, so it's an interesting thing. They're actually inspected by divers. They go on the top with divers go on the top and inspect these tanks, obviously same size. So it's a pretty expensive deal. As I just found out, we had divers have to fix that dam down Mill Street, what it costs for an oil company to put the ground in. The quote is $35,000, and these companies are becoming a little bit more scarce. But both tanks, it came up on our sanitary survey from DEP. It's mandatory. We have to do them every 5 years. So, they're due this year. That's why I haven't sitting here. And again, that's retained earnings. Well, I recommended retained earnings. Truck 44. This is a truck. Gotta see the pictures on this. So it's a gasoline truck. It's a 6-cylinder, full-size truck. The engine hours, it's just shy of 13,000 hours on the engine. And I got pictures of rust. We're just barely keeping it going. And once you know it, 3 weeks ago, we lost the engine and we're replacing the engine in the shop now, because the thing I didn't mention is most vehicles are a year out right now. especially heavy duty vehicles. Truck 28 that you all approved last spring was supposed to be in October. I'm not gonna see it until March. I was notified again. So. That's the other piece of it. The way, I mean, when I ask for a vehicle on capital, it's a year out. Once it's approved. So you add another year to the vehicle, basically, that you're trying to fund. But anyways, this has got, this truck here works. Our wastewater treatment plant, supplies staff or their staff working both the wastewater treatment plant and our water facilities. 365 days a year. It's required in the DEP regulations and staffing plan. This one does the water facilities, does all the traveling out to the country, idles a lot because of the different equipment they use. The electrical inverter, whatnot, their tools to use, so on and so forth. So, this truck is, had it. We were able to find what we went through, we found a used engine that's gonna get us by. So the mechanics putting it back together when they find a few minutes here and there right now, so. As they say, time was everything, I guess. So, and again, the rust has gotten really bad, we've patched a few holes.
And which truck is this?
Truck 44. And, Councilor Trons, you brought up the cost, this one here is 80,000. We all met, I met with all the supervisors in Palmer, but this truck needs to carry the water facilities on a daily basis. Some equipment needs to be, controlled in the vehicle, not in the back, in the elements. Testing equipment, whatnot, so this will be the only vehicle we have, it'll be a extra cab. Cost is a little higher on this one, but again, we want to get the vehicle that is.
Is this a 3/4 as well?
Yes. Yes. Three
Can't
quarters.
imagine how much you guys would do with a half ton at this point.
But also, they got a half ton. They plow their own facilities. Some of these facilities is pretty rough gravel road. Yeah, half ton wouldn't be a good idea. Exactly what we were talking about earlier. So yes, this is a 3/4 ton. In some of the boxes and some of the equipment that's on the current truck, we can put into this new truck, so try and keep the cost down as much as we can. Okay.
Elephant in the room.
So, yeah, this is, well, no, this is just the beginning. Next year will be the elephant in the room. So I sent some, actually, I'm gonna pass these around.
That's a good idea.
Because. So when I'm explaining this, if you take a look at these, one is the actual intake. One, you can see the river is split in half right near our intake for our water supply. You want to pass them around and then I can explain. The pictures do it no justice, for how bad that's filled in up there either, just above the pump station there.
Right.
In fact, when water flows get low, we got really nervous at one point. We didn't have much water in the intake. It's one third of our water supply. You think of fire protection, you think of everything else going on. So this has happened from the flooding over the years. It simply has filled in behind the dam and worked its way back. That top picture, when you're looking at the gravel, you're in town standing on the wall, the intake is right here. Next to my left, down below. This is gonna go through some heavy duty permitting. I think some of us remember the White Glen. This one's gonna be a little different. The permitting is gonna be a lot more expensive. We're planning Green River now. So. We gotta get the engineer and design done, because I'm actually, I don't wanna sit here and say it's critical, it's an emergency right now, but. With the different droughts we've been having, it gets a little critical with 1/3 of your supply goes into that intake and it's not getting there because the river is split and as the levels go down. But it's certainly, in my opinion, one of the more important things we gotta get started on for our water supply. Yeah. 500,000 for engineering and design, so that may give you an idea. It's from 10 to 14% for engineering and design and permitting on the actual project costs, so. We're gonna be looking at about a $6-7 million project next year. Once we get engineering, it's
How much?
probably 6 to 7 million.
Well, it's a good thing that. the-
Next year.
Yeah, if you want to be in my favor.
No, it's next year, it's next year, next year, Mayor, next year. But I gotta do the engineering and design, gonna be third party.
Right.
There is so much that goes into engineering and design, every project we do now, you have to do all the environmental permitting, which is very expensive.
We thought when we won,
Well, I don't know about that, but
that's
Um,
here.
a very quick story is we have an erosion area down at the Greenfield swimming area. And I'm not opposed to the environmental engineering, please don't take this wrong. But literally, they found evidence of the wind turtle. The project was gonna be about 40,000 for my in-house staff. That project's now 80,000 because of the environmental findings. They have to have LSP on site because there was evidence of the wood table. And then the actual permitting cost is quite, I think, $12,000 for it. So, again, I had mentioned early on about constant regulation changes. There's so many things. I mean, there were 7 permits we had to get through that Mill Street Dam repair, for just that quick repair. Fortunately, we're on emergency repair, so they pushed them right through, but sometimes these permits take months and months and months. So. I don't want to end the night on that, but it's reality. I dare say all this unfunded mandate.
Yeah.
I get in my emails almost every day, so. That's all I have for this year.
Okay. That's good, that's a lot. So I have a question, if you, on the things that you need done under general DPW. The paving needs to be done in the summer. But the trucks, which ones are there? Which ones are they available needed? You know, you said some of them, it's a long time for them to order them, it's a year, but are the 3/4 and the 1 tons available?
They take a while to get because they have to equip them on our specifications, our scope. An example is last year, that 3/4 ton of central maintenance, we got that really quick because it was white. White central maintenance, all the vehicles were white, so that worked out perfect. They had one in the lot. But on it and got it sent to us. Trying to keep the fleet green, DPW's green, but I'm not opposed, Paul and I have talked about it, I'm not opposed that if they have something we can get in 2 months. Equip for 3 months, then. Multicolored equipment.
Let the detail on green and white.
Yeah. So,
Teams with spray paint to fix the problem.
so the bucket truck, also the way it's spec could be a fairly quick turn to us. Depending on state, and again, we love using state business because it's a long drawn out process to procure in-house and so on and so forth. It's great for the purchase order and request for review. We give you the FAC number and here we go. Trash truck is at least a year, at least a year out. By over the time. Yeah, the 3 recycle trucks were ordered first week of March last year. I don't expect to see them until April. May.
But there is a possibility that we would be going to unused trash, do you think that's a possibility?
6, 7 years is very soon.
I would say 5, 6, 7 years out there. We can do a certain, I can certainly talk about this. What you're running into is 3 trucks. They need 3 trucks to automate.
We don't have money for everything this year, unlike the other years, so just so you know, we didn't actually, we put in the order for the 1,600,000. Out of capital will come the fire truck, and then having been on the bond call today, I just want to say this, Steve and I didn't actually go to the numbers, but well, we didn't. 2 of us would sit down and talk, but they like you to have money left in the capitals, like they don't like you to wipe that out. So I wasn't thinking of going any below 1,000,000, which means couple of million. So there are, I know that you'll go through and prove it every you want, but in the past, sometimes it was everything, we have money for everything, or we didn't.
So is that 1,600,000 coming out of what we had
Last year,
in cap last year?
it was 1,900,000,
Yeah.
almost 2,000,000. Okay, so say two,
Before what we certified
right?
3 months ago.
So we certified and we're putting 2,600,000 into capital stabilization. That would be roughly 400,000. That's 300,000 that will be left in capital stabilization after the fire engine is paid for. But and we did not talk about that, but we're all here, so.
Yeah, no, makes sense.
Wait, hold on. Can you repeat that?
Okay,
So we had
we had 1,950,000, okay,
for
before,
this fall.
Right.
Okay, so
and then we just certified free cash,
Yeah.
and now we're allocating it into things.
didn't we already move some of the cap stabilization, or is
It
that?
was an order, it was a first reading before you to put 2,600,000
Okay, I knew it was coming.
into capital stabilization. Yeah, so
Oh, we're getting rid of 1,600,000.
we're getting rid of one,
So
so
essentially, we had 300,000 left over, we had 2.6, so we're pretty close to 3 mil.
pretty close to 3,000,000. But we can't spend all that, we had this,
Right.
and it's okay, I think it's all right to have this.
Oh,
discussion.
yeah, it's a factual discussion, yeah.
So, I mean, so the bond call was very sobering. Of the money that we had left, we didn't allocate it. I think Steve and I haven't talked, but we may put some into general stabilization. You know, it was, I'm afraid that they're going to change the bond rating because of the outstanding liabilities. OPEB and our borrowings, so it will behoove us to put more in. So we can't use it all, and I don't like to make all these important decisions myself. I'd actually ask for help for where we're gonna spend. You know, I can't, Stephen will attest to that, saying, I don't know what we have left. But which frowned upon with the borrowing. I'm okay with the things that are coming out of the enterprise funds. Personally, because I know not all 3 enterprise funds, but one is through. Because there's great evidence that he will not only, those 2 funds will not only make it, but they'll do better than that. So I don't, things that come out of there, I'm not as worried about. The ones that, if you feel the same way,
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Oh, there's a revenue attached to it. So
there's a revenue attached to it. On the others, I think we should be, of all of the other things. I think we should be spending about 2,000,000 of that 3,000,000 that's left. You
yeah, no, that makes sense.
so leave about 1,000,000. And first of all, we don't know what else is gonna happen. It's, but. So. I keep going through with my own list, there's some things that's like, okay, safety. Or you have to do. Like the fire alarms, I don't see any, that is. But I did wonder, we went through yours about waiting on the trash one. I mean, I know that you need that, but it's 300,000. You're gonna, you vote on all, and then you just. Have to prioritize it.
Well, it's certainly a good idea, Mayor. completely agree with all my years here that you gotta have something in there.
Yeah.
You know, like I have a few projects out there and I don't know if we're gonna need additional funds or not. And the cap
Right.
infill. Going through engineering design on that
Yeah.
now, it wasn't required, but it got worse through the capital problem, you know, so you just don't know. I may have enough money, but just you never know what we're gonna come through in the middle of the year.
So I guess two questions, one being, maybe it's a dumb question. If we're not going to be bonding this year, so to speak, on anything large, how bad would it hurt to take a dent in our rating?
That
I mean,
may,
that wouldn't go retroactive to things we already have bonded, correct? Those are already,
Yeah.
they're locked.
They're locked in.
Right.
I don't know.
So if we weren't going to be borrowing money, so to speak, or took a year or two off since we don't have something like
Yeah.
this, or a library or any huge infrastructure projects we'd be bonding against, would it really be a big deal if we were to get a little, if we had to, I'm saying,
Right.
if we had to take a little knock against our bond rating in order to, you know, essentially by not meeting the thresholds they're trying to say that would keep us where we're at with that. And then my second
Yeah.
question is, as like Marlo is very forthcoming with what he has left over and I know we've looked at times, like we found out from the school, like the construction budget,
Mhm.
trying to reappropriate that. Are there other departments that may have those, and maybe not to as big of a scale of an amount, but are there, you know,
That's a
are there bank accounts that still have balances in them, so to speak, that aren't being utilized, that could be repurposed? We've done this obviously once before, but I just didn't know if that's been really, you know, kind of like the way the assessor is trying to fine tooth comb a bunch of
Right.
stuff.
Yeah. It's kind of like the original anaerobic digester, the money was borrowed.
Yeah.
I repurposed it to the dewatering project, which by the way is active, we're moving ahead with it, working down there.
Squisher, right?
Squisher. Yeah, trust, yeah,
Yeah.
like dewatering, it produces cake.
Produces cake.
Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, if there's, I think every year we get a long list of what we have outstanding in our accounts. I think I repurposed just about everything I possibly can, but if there's something not borrowed, I can't repurpose it, because that's.
Yeah, if it's been borrowed, yes, so that's a great question, so on the high school, if I can tell you that one first, because we had to look for the boilers. Because they came before me, before Stephen was here, and I had no idea how we were gonna pay for that, but I knew we had to. So I said, although it's before you. Now, and I don't know if yeah, we put an order forward to repurpose it, but, I thought you have to get those. We'll figure that out later, but there was 100 and, I don't know what it was, 135,000 left in the high school to build the new high school. So that was still there. And somehow, so you, somehow, if it has anything to do with the same use, it's okay, like that was sort of, you put new boilers or somehow we could find a way in our hands if that was all right. That's the one that I know of there. I don't know on the school ones if there's anything else that went out, like they weren't enormous ones. But we did a few things since we got in, like the fences and stuff. I don't know if any of that was gone. On the city side, they felt like almost everything would be used for the library, and they're sending something back, and just they actually sent $250,000 back, so that's gonna reduce somewhat. It's not nothing that's left there to, you know, to spend. There's a little bit left there for our couple of other projects. Yeah,
And so,
at the library.
That's a lot. Yeah, signage, basically.
Looks like-
so when that gets turned back, that goes into, is that going to unrestricted, or does that go back to general?
No, it stays right there in the account. Look, it seems like it's, I don't know that.
Stays in the bonding,
Yeah, it stays right there.
then we turn it back to the bonding, and so you can go back to the general fund.
I wanted to take part of what was left from the high school to fix the Davis Street. Because I thought they play tennis on, really the city owns that, but it's like almost part of the high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so anything that was there at the high school, so that's for sources of, you're asking like, what's left in different accounts that we can do that? That's basically your question.
Right, yeah.
In other, so that's what I know that's left in there. In the police station fund, what we purposed for that, and I don't know if we ever permanently borrowed for that, and that we allocated money for, so that's an I don't know question. They've been very fiscally responsible with that, and he keeps telling me open stating that we could put that towards cause, but I know actually could repurpose that for something that's an entirely different things.
It's not.
Yeah, it's like life of a project.
There is something that is left there. And the fire station, he's assured me that they're gonna use all of that, and I don't know,
Pretty much all the
pretty much all done, I haven't looked at that.
time.
So there's still, I keep eyeing that, you know, just what's left in the high school account, because I'm thinking there's other things that we needed there. We can't have people playing on those sports they themselves. So I don't know of anything else.
So you're saying the stuff from the library would just essentially like reduce the principal we owe?
Yeah,
Exactly.
That's it. It's all we can do with it. We can't.
Exactly.
now they asked us about that today. And we said we are gonna put that down to, because that's what the intention was.
Right.
To move it down. Yeah. And then try to not borrow $4 million every year was not a good
I
plan.
mean, long term, that's great. We're not paying interest on it. Right?
So. That's all I know. I just know that we're not gonna try to stay with them. So I'll only do to that. We don't roll, we have a little dollar figure, but that's money.
And you know, I'm gonna ask at some point anyway, so I don't know if this was a good time.
Yeah.
Well, I guess, no, because you're gonna give that to us later. That has nothing to do with capital. I was just gonna ask for the balances on the, yeah.
Oh, I know by heart.
Funds.
General stabilization is $2,332.
$332.
$32.
Wow,
Right, I did that.
very specific.
Compensated absences was totally wiped out. Contract stabilization, I think maybe there's about 50,000 there, but that's a guess. I'm just remembering that, and we're putting 100,000 more in it. And that's about it. Oh, and the opioid stabilization is like $533,000 in. Not that we would be using that for anything else other than that. And then the pension stabilization that we did use some of this year. There's like $670,000 left in pension stabilization, so that's a good thing. And
That's separate from the OPEB, right?
yes, that's separate. That OPEB stabilization it doesn't have much of it. It's maybe like, now this is a total guess. I'd say that's maybe around 150,000. That's a guess. I don't. That number's not in my head. So. Yeah. What's that? Oh, and the other good part, this is the funny part, if we do take a hit in the bond rating, did I tell you this already? It's, right now, we're AA-. If we went down, we go to A+. You know, if I get to tell that story, I'm not worried.
At the other meeting, I said that we were like triple it minus.
Yes, I had one more A in there, so.
Okay, so we'll be at
Double it, that only sign is down to an A+, and I thought, I'm not worried about that newspaper story. You know, it's just kind of funny, but
That's like the merit industry with the insurance, like, oh, you get to a step 0, you think you're good. No. 99, 98 or better. Yeah.
And that phone call with the bond counsel, I didn't realize that was expensive. So we had a phone call with bond counsel, it was an hour. so I get all of our little team and then this person from New York and Chicago, and it ends, he goes, oh, these are expensive. And I'm like, well, how much does that cost? I don't know. But, I just thought that was kind of interesting. And I never saw the final thing, but are we finishing, like, are we asking them to finalize the borrowing on the project in this one? I just go kind of get all the
Yeah.
information together, I didn't know the bottom one, we asked them to borrow the end of.
Yeah, we package it all together in one
Yeah.
big number and, so then they're gonna give us a rating and then we'll go out to bid.
And that is last.
Full thing,
Is that the last thing on any of the buildings, do you think? That's last?
yeah, for some of them, yeah.
Wait, so right now we don't wanna take that knock, is what you're saying, if we're gonna be putting this up to bid,
don't wanna
wait
take
till
that.
next year to take it
Yeah.
on. Okay. Interest rates aren't so good.
So it could be a first and second week, because we have one more time to talk to them. Although they sounded like they were gonna make your minds up next week, didn't it?
Yeah, next Tuesday is when they'll go to committee and get it rating.
Yes. Yeah, so it'll be interesting. I don't know about that.
Get that rating locked first.
I don't know. You know, they actually were looking and they said the whole state used to have like a little bit of a higher rating in general. And the state had a little lower rating now than it did.
That makes sense.
Well, we've actually spent a lot of our. The state spent a lot of their reserve.
Yeah.
They have a huge reserve, I mean, it's so big, I wish that was them.
Yeah.
But, they spent a lot of that, so I don't know. It's actually kind of. Fascinating.
They substituted, road money when they did that too. And it's got a little bit more road, not a lot, but.
Right,
That makes sense, because they've kind of froze a bunch of state funding that was already allocated
it's
while
actually,
they were waiting to get their new bond rating.
it's.
It was something like, wait a minute, no, we did that back for a minute.
Really, I just found out, I've been wondering about this, every department has a credit card. And that, you know, like, they have something to charge, and then Mandy was asking me, could we find that bill? So we find the bill today, and I was wondering, you know, we don't have it in credit card with this number 801, whatever it is. Yes, say it out loud. And then they said, so we talked to them yesterday, and they said, yeah, don't worry about it. Don't worry about your payment. It was $28,000 and you paid it already. It comes in and you pay it automatically. It's set up so that the city's actually gonna pay that. And then we figured out today how to, you know, we had to enter all these things so we could actually see them. So we sent the whole credit card bill out, and I thought, I wondered how this is working. But it has, under the bill, it has everybody's name. It, you know, like we have DPW, so you know how it will be charged to that account, but it all comes under one big thing.
So your bill pay service.
Yeah, and the other thing we should do with Amazon. Who's telling me this, we should pay for the Amazon Prime, for the city,
Yes.
because we are not. And we get tax free. I had to learn about time tax free, we had to buy like, I called the sheriff's office, we need blankets and supplies, for the warming center, and then Fairhaven said, we have to buy tax free, I'm like, how's that happen? But our Amazon account is set up so it's tax free, but we don't have Amazon
Shipping.
Prime.
Yeah.
Which is different, it's not $100 anymore like it is for a person or whatever it costs, it's different from the city. But all of the department heads have actually known how good it would be that they all wanted to chip in, they've been after the finance director to do this, to get it from the city, you can charge each, you could even say, okay, Marlo, your department is chipping in, I don't know, say if it's $1,000 for the city, then we could say, but Chief Dodd was, or Chief Strayton was telling me about that they've been after finance to get that because they'd be saving on the shipping. I'm like, we should do that like yesterday.
I just learned that the other day that we didn't have Amazon Prime. I was surprised.
We'll have to talk to.
Yeah. I actually, I have a contact over at Amazon that does the New England region, so, yeah.
Yeah, and then, you know, but it is so, funny. Whatever she said to me, you have to buy the you know, tax-free blankets. I'm like, who sells that? And then, you know what? I asked for those it was noontime. I said, you know, we have all of food, there's no food, there's no blankets. By 4 o'clock, My car had so many blankets and I could back up. I couldn't see out the back window. And I had somebody help me open the car. They did that from the sheriff's office, that Wally Street or so. That was just nice. It was very, I actually walked around every department at the end of the day to tell them that, how one of the stories, so many things in the car and 25 huge blankets. So that was really nice. And there is a way for everybody to buy things. Taxpayers to know it was. I mean, to buy things, yeah, taxpayers. Not free shipping. Isn't that fascinating? Then, all right, that's it.
Thank you for having. me.
Go back and go have a piece of, it's not that late, actually. 7 o'clock.
It's not Monday, so thank you for me
Yeah.
adjourning.
Yes,
I'm also.
thank you so much.